After more than a decade together inside the world of Outlander, the moment fans always feared has finally become real. Caitríona Balfe recently opened up about the final scene she filmed with Sam Heughan, and the emotional reaction from fans has been overwhelming. Because for many viewers, the idea of Jamie and Claire reaching the end of their journey still feels almost impossible to accept. These characters became more than fictional figures a long time ago. They became part of people's lives. That's why Caitríona's comments hit fans so deeply. According to her, filming that final scene didn't feel like a normal workday on set. It carried the emotional weight of years of memories, friendships, challenges, and moments that shaped not only the actors involved, but the entire fandom surrounding Outlander. And perhaps the hardest part was knowing this moment would never happen again. For Sam and Caitríona, Outlander * was never just another television project. They spent more than 10 years building Jamie and Claire together, carrying one of television's most beloved love stories through countless emotional highs and devastating losses. Over time, the line between the characters and the emotional reality of filming them became increasingly difficult to separate. Especially during the final days on set. Caitríona described the atmosphere as emotional from the very beginning. Cast and crew members reportedly understood they were witnessing the end of something truly special, and that awareness changed the energy completely. Even familiar routines suddenly felt heavier because everyone knew these were the last moments they would share together inside this world. And then came the final scene itself. For fans, the exact details of the scene may matter less than the emotional meaning behind it. Because regardless of what happens on screen, the reality behind the camera is what truly hurts. The final time Sam and Caitríona stood together as Jamie and Claire marked the end of an era that lasted more than a decade. That realization became almost impossible for Caitríona to emotionally separate from the scene itself. After playing Claire Fraser for so many years, stepping away from the character wasn't simply about finishing production. It meant letting go of a chapter of life that shaped her career, her public identity, and many of her closest professional relationships. And at the center of that experience was Sam. Which is why the emotional weight of their last scene together feels so powerful. Because audiences watched them grow through this experience together in real time. From the early days of Season 1 to the massive global success that followed, fans witnessed Sam and Caitríona evolve not only as performers, but as people. Their chemistry became one of the defining emotional foundations of Outlander *, and over the years viewers became deeply attached to the connection they created both on screen and off-screen. That connection made saying goodbye infinitely harder. According to Caitríona, there was a strange feeling on set during those final moments, almost disbelief. After spending so many years returning to these characters over and over again, it became difficult to emotionally process that there would eventually be a last scene. Even hearing the final cut reportedly carried an emotional impact that few people were prepared for. And honestly, fans feel that same disbelief now. Because Outlander * has existed for such a long period of time that many viewers can barely remember life before it. Entire chapters of people's personal lives unfolded alongside the show itself. Relationships, careers, family milestones, heartbreaks. Through all of it, Jamie and Claire remained a constant emotional presence for millions of fans around the world. That's why the ending feels so personal. Not just for Sam and Caitríona. For everyone. What makes the situation even more emotional is the awareness that there will never be another, first, or last, moment quite like this again. No more returning to those sets for another season. No more stepping back into Jamie and Claire after a filming break. No more recreating the emotional rhythm that defined so much of their professional lives together. An entire routine built over 10 years is disappearing. And both actors clearly understand how meaningful that is. Fans especially became emotional hearing how difficult it was for Caitríona to fully separate herself from Claire during those final days. After carrying a character for this long, saying goodbye becomes deeply complicated emotionally. Parts of the role inevitably become connected to real memories, real emotions, and real experiences shared with the people around you every day for years. Including Sam Heughan. That's why the final scene feels bigger than television. It represents the closing of an entire era, not only for the cast, but for the audience that grew alongside them for over a decade. And perhaps that's what hurts most for fans right now. The realization that eventually there truly will be no more Jamie and Claire moments left to film. Only memories. And for a fandom this emotionally attached to Outlander *, that realization is almost heartbreaking to accept. What makes this final scene between Caitríona Balfe and Sam Heughan feel so emotional isn't only the fact that Outlander is ending. It's the realization that an entire chapter of their lives is ending with it. For more than 10 years, Sam and Caitríona lived inside the world of Jamie and Claire almost every single day. They traveled together, filmed together, promoted the series together, and carried the emotional expectations of one of television's most passionate fandoms together. Over time, that experience naturally created a bond that fans became deeply attached to. And now, suddenly, it's all coming to a close. That's why Caitríona speaking about the final scene hit people so hard emotionally online. Fans immediately began imagining what that last day on set must have felt like, the final costumes, the final camera setup, the final rehearsal, the final time hearing someone call, action, for Jamie and Claire together. And perhaps most painful of all, the final cut. Because once that moment happened, there was no going back. No new season waiting next year. No return to the Fraser world after a filming break. Just silence after more than a decade of routine, emotion, and shared history. That emotional reality is difficult even for fans to process, which makes it almost impossible to imagine how intense it must have felt for Sam and Caitríona themselves. These weren't characters they played briefly and moved on from. Jamie and Claire became deeply connected to their identities as actors and public figures. In many ways, Outlander * changed their entire lives. And the emotional attachment fans feel toward him only makes the goodbye more powerful. One of the reasons audiences connected so deeply to Jamie and Claire over the years was because the chemistry between Sam and Caitríona always felt authentic. Even outside the show, there was a comfort and emotional familiarity between them that viewers instantly recognized. That connection became one of the emotional foundations of Outlander * itself. Which is why the idea of the last scene together feels almost symbolic now. Not just for the series. For an entire era of television. Fans especially became emotional hearing how difficult it was for Caitríona to fully separate her own emotions from Claire's during those final days. After living with a character for this long, goodbye stops feeling fictional. The sets become attached to real memories. The costumes carry emotional meaning. Even simple routines on set suddenly become painful because everyone knows they are happening for the last time. And those last times add up quickly. The last makeup trailer conversation. The last walk onto set. The last emotional scene. The last laugh between takes. Every small moment suddenly becomes precious once people realize it's ending. That bittersweet atmosphere reportedly spread across the entire production. Crew members who had worked on the series for years were emotional as well, because Outlander wasn't simply another job anymore. It became a huge part of many people's lives. Watching it end meant saying goodbye not only to characters, but to friendships, routines, and memories built over more than a decade together. And fans can feel that emotion through the screen already. That's why reactions online became so emotional after Caitríona discussed the final scene. Many viewers admitted they still don't feel mentally prepared for Outlander to end. For years, Jamie and Claire represented comfort, loyalty, romance, survival, and emotional escape for millions of people around the world. Losing that feels personal, especially for fans who grew alongside the series over the years. Some started watching in college. Others watched while raising families, navigating heartbreak, surviving difficult life periods, or simply searching for comfort during lonely moments. Over time, Outlander became emotionally woven into people's lives in ways few television shows ever achieve. And now everyone is facing the same difficult reality together. The story is reaching its ending.